Ambassador Bridge has been dethroned as North America's busiest truck crossing.
Windsor City Councillor is calling on Canadians to ditch the Ambassador Bridge that connects Canada to the U.S.
From Donald Trump's threats to delay the opening of the Gordie Howe International Bridge, now we're learning the owners of the Ambassador Bridge.
Democrats in Washington say they're escalating an investigation into U.S. President Donald Trump's threat to stall the opening of the Gordie Howe International Bridge.
$100. That is how much money a truck driver saves by skipping the most famous border crossing in North America and driving an hour out of their way instead. Multiply that by 500 crossings a week, and you are looking at $50,000 of fleet saves every single month just by taking a different bridge. And that math is quietly redrawing the map of US-Canada trade right now. For decades, one crossing defined the entire relationship between American and Canadian manufacturing. The Ambassador Bridge, connecting Detroit and Windsor, handled more freight than any other land crossing on the continent. It was the central artery for the North American auto industry, parts, components, and finished vehicles moving across it every single day. That dominance is now officially gone. According to data from the Bridge and Tunnel Operators Association, the Ambassador Bridge lost its top spot at the end of 2025. The Blue Water Bridge, located about 60 miles north, connecting Port Huron, Michigan to Sarnia, Ontario, recorded over 2.1 million commercial truck crossings last year. The Ambassador managed only 1.9 million, and through the first months of 2026, that gap is holding. Blue Water is logging roughly 299,000 crossings. The Ambassador sits at 286,000. A crossing that dominated for generations just got dethroned. The question is why? The Federal Bridge Corporation put out a statement pointing to efficiency and route reliability as the main factors. That is the official answer. The real answer shows up on the toll receipt. Crossing the Ambassador Bridge in a standard semi-truck costs $27 per axle. For a typical 18-wheeler, that comes to around $135 for a single crossing. Cross at Blue Water instead, and the toll drops to $7 per axle, roughly $35 total, $100 cheaper, every single trip. For an individual driver, that is noticeable. For a logistics company running a full fleet across the border multiple times a day, it is the difference between a viable operation and a margin problem. The tariff environment over the last year has already compressed profits across manufacturing and freight. Fuel costs are up, labour costs are up, carriers are not absorbing an extra $100 per crossing when a cheaper option is 60 miles away. The detour is not a disruption. For fleet operators right now, the detour is just good math. But the Blue Water Bridge story is actually the smaller headline, because further down the Detroit River, a brand new $6.4 billion crossing has been years in the making, and it is nearly ready to open. The Gordie Howe International Bridge was built specifically to solve the problems that have been pushing trucks north. It connects directly to the interstate highway system on both sides of the border, eliminating the city traffic congestion that makes Ambassador crossings slower and less predictable. Its toll structure is designed to deeply undercut existing rates, and its capacity is built for the freight volumes that modern North American supply chains actually require. The funding arrangement behind the bridge is unusual and important. Back in 2012, Canada and the state of Michigan negotiated a deal where Canada fronted nearly the entire construction cost. That covers the physical bridge, the highway connectors, and the customs infrastructure on both sides. Michigan contributed no upfront capital. In exchange, Michigan received joint ownership of the crossing and the right to collect half of all toll revenue once Canada has recovered its initial investment. The contracts were signed, approved, and have remained unchanged for over a decade. A few weeks ago, Donald Trump suggested the United States should block the bridge from opening. His argument was that the US had been taken advantage of and deserved financial compensation before a single truck was allowed to cross. The statement landed hard in both countries. The Gordie Howe Bridge is not a vague policy proposal. It is a completed piece of infrastructure with signed legal agreements, valid permits, and a scheduled opening. Blocking it would mean the United States government acting against a contract that the state of Michigan itself negotiated and signed. Mark Carney called Washington directly. He did not escalate publicly. He did not issue counter threats. He simply outlined the facts of the original agreement, the shared ownership structure, the heavy reliance on American construction labour and materials during the build, and Canada's expectation that the opening would proceed as planned. Then he stopped talking. That restraint was not accidental. The pushback to Trump's suggestion did not come primarily from Canada. It came from Michigan. Former state officials and current local leaders responded quickly and in bipartisan terms. Their argument was straightforward. Delaying the Gordie Howe Bridge would cause far more damage to American auto workers and US supply chains than it would ever cause to Canada. The bridge was built to serve Michigan's manufacturing economy as much as Ontario's. Holding it shut does not pressure Canada, it stalls the American factories waiting on the other side of it. That is the part of the political calculus that does not survive contact with the actual economics. What is happening here is not really about one bridge. It is about what happens when physical infrastructure becomes a diplomatic pressure point.